FM 94 The Dark. It is that time again. It's time to get to know a band we play here on The Dark. And yes, you, the listener out there, voted this month and wanted to tell us which band or bands you wanted to interview. And tonight, we're going to be interviewing the band White Collar Sideshow. It is a band out of Arkansas, and on the line right now, I have their, obviously, drummer and singer, TD. How you doing, TD?
Man, I'm doing great, Jay-Z. Thanks a zillion for having us on.
Hey, it's great to talk to you. This is the first time you and I have had a chance to interact, at least via, talking and that. We've had a little bit other interaction via email and stuff, and of course through Curtain Call Records, which I think has been a great supporter of you guys. First of all, before we get into all that stuff, how are you been holding up, I guess, during this pandemic?
Our life is really strange. We've been on the road so long, right? So we live in basically a U-Haul that's been converted into a micro house, which a lot of people think that you're in the rock and roll business. You have a lot of things. Well, we don't. So it's different because for us, our life hasn't really changed other than we're not performing and we're not driving to different cities because everything we own is in this vehicle. So it's been an interesting life of seeing other people's lives kind of become super crazy, where we've learned how to stretch a dollar for so long. We've been living almost bare bones, very simplistic life for so many years that we're already used to what's happening in the world right now. And not really on purpose, just because, when you're touring around, it's hard to have house payments and car payments and things like that. So we just transitioned our life into living and breathing, our art. And so it's been different for us that way, although not that I'm unsympathetic. Like, it's a crazy world out there, and it's just who's really prepared for a moment like this, right?
Right, exactly. Now, you mentioned you're on the road, but you're parked right now in Nashville, Tennessee. What's it like in Nashville right now?
It's absolutely crazy. It's interesting. Nashville, we're parked downtown Nashville at a church that's been a home church for us since around '09, and we're plugged into the church. We can walk 3 blocks down to Broadway, which is basically the Bourbon Street of Nashville. And usually it's shoulder to shoulder, pedal taverns, the Last Bash and Nash, all the bridal things. It's such a crazy place. And we'll get up, go work out, jog downtown, and there's nobody. I mean, absolutely nobody. It's like a zombie apocalypse.
Perfect for you guys then, right?
Hey, man, that's what horror movies are made of, right?
Absolutely. Hey, let's get
Twilight Zone.
Let's get into I guess your music and that, and how this all came about. So for somebody maybe for joining us for the first time that's never heard about White Collar Sideshow, give us the history of this.
We started in 2006. Basically, my wife was managing a giant online music corporation, and I was selling drums from a storefront, writing these crazy shows. I have struggled with addiction and different things my whole entire life, and was having these crazy dreams, writing these crazy dreams down, which has turned into what our music and show is, which is literally like living a dream, right? And my wife was managing this business, and we would come home and really look at each other like we were young and had the American dream, the 4-bedroom house, 3 cars, had a 66 Austin Healey in mint condition, the things that people dream of and the things that we were dreaming of. But literally would come home and look at each other and be like, man, what are we doing? Like, we're coming home. It's a monotonous life. We feel like we're zombies. We're not changing the world in any way. And my wife called me one day, and I'd been writing these dreams, and she said, in a strange way, I feel like God told me to jump today. And I was like, all right, where are you jumping to? And she said, well, I feel like I'm gonna leave my job. Let's get rid of everything we own, and let's figure out how to take those dreams on the road. And I was like, woman, are you crazy? And she was, and we both were. And we took us 2 years, started in 2006, getting rid of everything we owned, moved into a little RV, sold a car to go and record actually in St. Paul, our first EP, and then we had film with our whole show. So we used another car to sold that to do the filming, and then we started putting this crazy show together and had no idea what we were doing. But then we have been living like that for the last 14 years and just released our third album and third film.
That's crazy. And, you know, the crazy thing about it is your wife was the one that said it, not you. Normally it's the other way around. Normally it's the guy and the wife's like, nah, whatever. But it's the opposite way.
Man, I think it's because my wife is exceptional. She grew up, like, singing. She would do singing competitions, like at the fair and pageants and things like that. But her gift is management and money. Like, she knows how to multitask. She knows how to put a lot of things together. I think when she left her job, they hired like 4 people to put in her place. And she's like, well, you know, we went through a couple of people that thought about managing us at the time. And she's like, why would I have these people manage our life when no one really believes in this as much as we do? And so I'm going to manage it until someone can do it better. And so so here we are 14 years later, right? She's still the manager.
Absolutely. And talking to you before we started, you guys obviously have been a band for 14 years, but you guys as a couple have been around longer than that, haven't you?
Yeah, man, this is the longest thing that we have done in our marriage together, and we are obviously around each other for 24 hours a day, unless I go tour with someone else out of the country, and that's, you know, still, that's once a year maybe. But yeah, man, we've been married for 19 years. We didn't start this. We got married in 2001, and this started in 2006. So for sure, I mean, this has been the greatest, strangest journey of our entire lives.
Well, I like the way you guys have kind of marketed yourself, because you've marketed yourself as Arkansas's shock and roll, and it really comes to that because, you know, I'm excited to see you guys play live sometime, because I think that really is where you guys have a lot of, I guess, would make people really interested in seeing what you're doing, because what I've read is you're taking your love for music, but then also your love for cinema and putting it together into this project, this band called White Collar Sideshow. Is that pretty much what you've done?
Yeah, it's exactly what we've done. We shot ourselves in the foot early on. When we first started, like when I was growing up as a kid, you know, I grew up in the 80s, so you had your Prince, Michael Jackson. It wasn't until later on that, you know, with the hair metal and your big concerts. I remember seeing Kiss back in the day. I think my first concert was Poison and Tesla. You know, he had the big arena shows. But as soon as I graduated, like high school, I got, and maybe a little bit before that, I was super transfixed with bands like The Doors, Pink Floyd. And when I would watch the Pink Floyd live shows on VHS back in the day, you know, they had images, they had film, they had all of these things that they were edited together to give people visuals of what they wanted people to see, not just the words, but get something else out of, in my opinion. Then I started going to watch bands like Nine Inch Nails and White Zombie and Rob Zombie, and then it really, like, opened up a new world of going, wow, why don't we, you know, I'm writing all these ideas, why don't we just film these ideas, and we'll figure out how to edit it all to the music. And you know, that takes 3 times as much money than just putting an album together, and years of work just to put. I think for our last album, we spent 2.5 years filming, and mostly that's just because of our budget. Like, we can't afford to buy people's time to just take out a 2-month block. You know, we're working on time when people are there having their days off, and we can pay them, and so we love to do original film. We write all of our original films, and then we edit our albums to the film for the live show. So it's a concept album.
Yeah.
And so we don't really do anything off of our other albums. Like, we tour those for 3 or 4 years, and then we go start working on a new project, basically.
Yeah, I think it's an awesome thing that you guys are doing. Like I said, we're playing some of your music here on the airwaves, but I don't think it does any justice just by playing it on the airwaves. I think you need to see the whole show to actually get a feel for what you guys are trying to do.
Yeah, that has been the consensus view since pretty much the day we started. And, I think the hardest part is most people are like, oh, yeah, the music's okay. You got to see them live. And so even with the last album, Chris Baseford, who's our producer, who also has worked with John 5, Rob Zombie, Nickelback, he did Avril Lavigne's newest album, which was just like big on iTunes, just like huge.
Mm-hmm.
And he has really, we got introduced to him just through email back in the day. We were like, man, no one really gets us. Here's some stuff that we're doing. Are you interested in working with us? And so he was like, dude, get in here. And in a weird way, we're like kind of the dogs under the table that he gets to throw the scraps to, because we don't have the kind of money that the bands he works with does.
Right.
But he sees the artistic approach, so he gets to do something where it's not just a machine. He gets to be creative as well. But he's helped us really start to transform and go, okay, it's not just about the live show. How can we get the music to people's ears where if you're listening to it in Poland, that they kind of grasp an idea where if they never got to see you live, they would still get some kind of imagery that you're trying to portray. And he's really reached into my head and grabbed a lot of those things out. And the same with our film guy, Travis Joyner. Just, you find these people that are gifted and they get what you're trying to do, and you never want to lose them.
Absolutely. We're talking to TD. Of course, he's with the band White Collar Sideshow. It's him along with his wife, Veronica, that make up this project, the band. And I got to ask the name. I'm sure you get this asked all the time, but what's the name, the meaning behind the name, or why did you choose the name White Collar Sideshow?
Well, there's a band out of Texas, or a band that used to be out of Texas, named Embodiment, pretty heavy band back in the day. Got into them back in the early 2000s, and they had a song. One of their lyrics, "Who's to Blame" is the name of the song, and one of the lyrics in the song was White Collar Sideshow. And of course, it was the mid 2000s, so I was like, man, that would be a sweet band name. And so I told my wife, I'm like, we're putting this project together. What do you think about this name? And so she, back then, Googled the name, and there's 0 results. And we're like, all right, let's buy the website.
Nice.
And, yeah, right? So that's kind of how it all started. And then it had a double meaning for us. Like for us, not that we were super rich. We didn't have to worry about money really back then, the way that we do now. And so it was like, well, white collar, it's kind of ironic.
Mm-hmm.
And then sideshow, like everybody has a sideshow in their life. Everybody is struggling with something. Everybody has something that's consuming their thought process or their heart, their mind, their soul. Like no one's exempt from whatever sideshow that we have. And once we get rid of one, it's like something else comes in that we're always trying to work on. And the key is trying to get better and better as we get older in life. And that, in my opinion, that's for me. And so it was kind of a play on words, like white collar sideshow. Like here's the things that we struggle with, and maybe we can help someone else realize that they're not alone on the planet.
Absolutely. You guys released a concept album in October. I believe it was your third one. I Didn't Come Here to Die. It was released by Curtain Call Records. I had a chance to listen to a lot of the tracks in that. How does it compare to the other 2 albums that you had previously, I guess, released?
Yeah, to me, it's the best thing that I've ever put together, in my opinion. And that's what you're trying to do, right? Like your first album is this process. Your second album is this one. You're only trying to do better than you did on your last projects. Our first album was a 5-song EP that was all instrumental. We used old horror films, kind of in a Rob Zombie way, big influence there. It was 2 drummers and a bass. All the horror film lyrics, that's where we got all the lyrics from. So there was no singing or anything like that. We met Chris Baseford in around 2010, 2011, out in L.A. He helped us put together the second album, which is called The Witch Hunt. And then that film is a big horror film. But he really challenged me then because we were just going to pre-record vocals. He's like, you're not going to pre-record vocals. You're going to sing and play this. And I'm like, dude, I can't sing. I can't sing and play drums. Are you crazy? And he's like, well, we're not pre-recording it, so you need to figure it out. And so there was a big push there. I feel like our second album, our second project is a lot more industrial, a lot more Nine Inch Nails. I was using pots and pans and skillets and beer kegs and all kinds of crazy things in the music because we had two drummers. So our other drummer would be the drummer, and I would be drumming and singing but playing on top of him while my wife played bass in a 9-foot go-go cage. And then we had the film and all these crazy things. It was a giant show.
Right.
And then with this album, we were touring in Brazil, and I wrote most of these songs in Brazil because I got to thinking, like, man, here we are in a place where everybody is just trying to figure out their identity, who they are, themselves, and who am I? Like, I love old country, I love metal, I love pop, I love punk, I love all these different genres, these styles. I listen to Frank Sinatra, I listen to Ella Fitzgerald. You know, there's so many different things that I want to intertwine into what we're doing. And I feel like in this album, compared to the other two albums, to answer your question after all this rambling, I feel like we're finally coming into our own identity, so to say. Like, this is our own voice. You know, you're always influenced by somebody, and you try to almost become those influences, and it's very easy to become a cheap imitation of someone else. And I feel like we're growing out of the imitation process into really our super creativity. I guess in so many words.
You know, and it's something that's, for me, as a programmer of radio, it's refreshing because it's something that's not really cookie cutter, okay? Yes, there are a few, like you mentioned in the past, like the Rob Zombie, the Nine Inch Nails, there's some of that influence, but then there's a lot that's not there that isn't from them, and it's something totally different, which, you know, is a good thing, and then it's also a scary thing because if people don't get it, they're like, nah, not going to do it. But if they spend some time with it, they understand it, they'll be like, wow, this is awesome. Do you feel that that's kind of how it is right now a little bit, I guess, reaching out to other radio stations, programmers, and that on this album?
I feel like that has been the consensus view our entire career. You know, when you're doing something, even with our other albums, when you're doing something that's unique or something that is unusual, or, for instance, when we're doing a live show, we usually stand out compared to a lot of the different acts because it's something that's different. And so you're right. Like, that's the key, is going, it's great to be somebody that's maybe setting a trend, but the hardest part is, wow, I didn't get it, or I don't know what to do with you guys. And I think that's been the hardest part of our career, is with industry people going, man, I love what you do. One day there's going to be one guy who knows what to do with you. And so I feel like that's why we've been doing this for so long on our own. We were independent up until last year. We never had a record label. Well, we still never had a booking agent other than my wife. And so with Curtain Call coming in, just to get a call from them and say, hey, you guys, we love what you're doing. It's unique. It's different. It's different from all the stuff that's on our radio stations. It's different from the machine that's out there. And we don't want to change you. We want you to be yourselves, and we want to be involved in your life. So it was almost like, wow, teammates are coming in, like people who, you know, and we work really hard. Like my wife, I need to change her batteries a lot of times because she'll work 24 hours a day trying to get people interested. And for every no that you get, finally there's a yes somewhere out there. Right. And I feel like this album has got that momentum, the most momentum that we've had.
You know, and the latest song that we're spinning on your airwaves is actually a song you really haven't pushed out yet to rock radio because you're kind of in that limbo a little bit yet with what's been happening in the world, but Bring Out Your Dead, and we've been playing it since early January, and it is in our full rotation, and I have no aspirations of taking it out by any means, because I like the song a lot. I think it also is a little bit different than anything else. And I guess what I'm asking here is that one of the songs, since you're going to kind of feature that down the road, is that the song that you want everybody to hear and say, this is us, this is who we are?
That's a great question. That song is, man, I wrote that song, probably one of the first ones I wrote for this album when we were in Brazil. And what's interesting about that song, it almost feels like it was made for exactly what's happening right now in the world.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit like my brother called me the other day, and he was like, dude, those words are almost prophetic. And it's like, it's crazy because I wrote that so many years ago. But it just goes to show you that whatever it is artistically that you're going through in your life, you can connect with human beings because we all go through those same emotions and the same process of struggle or whatever it is that we're thinking about. And I love this song. I feel like it's a catchy tune. I feel like it's an anthem, and that's something that we really haven't written in our other albums. But is it the song that I want everyone to know us from? Man, if you love it, that's what I want.
Yeah, I mean, I do, and I think our listeners do too, because I've heard reaction from them, and like it's like I said, it's a little different than the norm, the mainstream, but they like that, and I think it's refreshing. And I guess I'm kind of curious right now with what's happening in the world, and that moving forward in the rock industry. How do you think this is going to play out, I guess, for rock bands like yourself compared to the larger rock bands? Right now it's probably been a struggle like you had talked about, but some of these bands have never been in a situation like this, or anybody has, but I'm saying, it's always a struggle on the road. But do you feel that it's going to come back and be stronger than ever, or are we going to see a lot of these bands that were maybe baby bands are going to go away?
Man, that's a really tough question because, like, everyone wants to guess the future, right, Jay-Z?
Yeah.
I mean, you want to predict things are going to go back to exactly the way they were. And before I answer that, first of all, thank you very much for playing our music and for supporting us. That is, this is the first time in our life with this album that these kinds of things have really happened, and it creates momentum, and it also creates like a shot of juice into the heart to keep going and keep like writing and doing. So I'm just grateful. Thank you.
Well, I will say one thing, TD, and say a shout out to John and Gigi from Curtain Call Records, because they have been phenomenal with us, getting us new artists, and we've had this great relationship over the past couple of years. So I think it was a great opportunity for you to get involved with them, because they are so good about pushing music they believe in out there. And when they talk to me, or they send me stuff, I listen to it because I believe in them. And so I think it's a huge shout out to those two and the whole team itself of Curtain Call Records.
I totally agree. It has been, with those guys, it's really starting to feel like a great team, and I love that too. And then as for the future, like, that's something that we're thinking about right now. Like, we're waking up, we're rehearsing, social media obviously is the biggest platform you can have as an artist right now. But at the same time, everyone is putting their content out there. So what kind of content are you putting out there? Is it unique? Is it different? Is it, how do you sell merchandise? Like, that's how you make a living, right?
Yep, exactly.
So how is all of this working? And so one thing that we did, we released the premiere of our live show. We had a friend of ours come in, and he runs sound for a big country artist named Casey Musgraves.
Yeah.
And he came in and helped us put together like a genuine live show. We did it all in one take. We filmed it on 3 iPhones, and obviously he went home and mixed everything, so it was sounding really awesome. We did a Facebook premiere last Friday.
I did see that. I watched
show.
some of that. Yep, it was awesome.
Thank you. And that's what we do live. And then afterwards, we went Facebook Live to our merchandise booth, like you would at any show. Like you go back to the merch booth, you're hanging out. And it was really cool because, Jay-Z, for us, we played in places like Poland, Germany, Brazil, Chile, New Zealand, Peru. We played in a lot of weird and strange places throughout our career that we never thought we'd even be a part of. But to see people from all of those different places get on your live stream, I mean, it felt like almost like a family reunion. Other than you can't see them, they're commenting, but it's like, wow, this is what it's about right here. This is what music should be doing. It should be connecting people, and then you're getting to say like, yeah, buy my T-shirt, buy my CD or whatever. But then at the end of the day, you're like, dude, not just buy my T-shirt, but if you're into any band, whomever they are, go download a song, go support them, help keep starving artists from starving, because it's kind of getting lost in the mix of your restaurants are closing down, your bars are closing down, your venues are closing down, other people's jobs are closing down. But people have expected music for free for so long, they forget that we actually have to survive somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. 100%. And I've talked to a couple other bands about this too, and I'm kind of curious to see what your take is on it. And maybe you don't have the necessarily. I mean, I guess it's more of an opinion than anything. But with the social distancing, with even it came out yesterday, there was a public health expert said, well, it might not be till 2021 when there's concerts in the fall and all this kind of stuff, and I'm thinking, maybe the larger venues are going to struggle, but maybe the smaller venues are going to start maybe succeeding because people don't want to go out to, 10,000, 20,000 people. They might want to go to only maybe like 200, 300, 400 people. Do you think that's going to actually help smaller bands, up and coming bands like yourself, and get people to come out and see live music more often?
I think that I think exactly what you said could be a real possibility, because you have the fear of getting back into groups again, and it will take a while for that to go away. But yeah, I think that it's almost like we're the cockroaches of the of the music world, right? Like, come into this dark place and
well,
but I would hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that that's a very real possibility. I think that there'll be a definite need for that too. But then again, you still have people, especially in our marketing statistic, that have kids, that have everything else. You still go back and you're still going to be fighting for people's time.
Right.
And so and you can only imagine when all of this is over and you do have that first big festival of all the major artists coming together, it's going to be amazing. But at the same time, yeah, you do want to feed us on this platform as well. So are people going to go out and go see live music again? Or is it going to go back to the way it was where, I can just see it online and I don't have to go to a show?
Right.
I'm hoping after all of these things after our Twilight Zone is over, that there's going to be a new form of normal, and that people are going to remember that, wow, I can still go outside. Wow, I can still get out and be a part of society and community, or build into the community that I would want to be a part of. And I hope that art and entertainment are things that really get flushed down the toilet.
We're talking to TD from the band White Collar Sideshow, and we're going to have to wrap things up here quickly, but I guess I want one more question, and then we'll let you get out the information, how people can find out about you. But I guess looking ahead here, touring-wise, and you guys are probably wanting to get out there and get in some shows and that, Who would be some artists that you'd like to maybe go out with? Would be a great tour to have you guys collaborate together. Maybe not even collaborate, but just go out on a tour together and be kind of a fun run across the U.S. of A.
It's a great question, Jay-Z, because I feel like for me personally, I get trapped in this world of just creating. A lot of people don't like. I could tell you the number of bands we've toured with is just a handful. Usually people just book us and throw bands on. And so it's an interesting perspective than what I had always thought our life would be, where a band's like, dude, I love these guys. They're weird. Let's take them out. It's never been like that. It's just always felt so competitive. And I'm not about that. I'm about, like, we're all trying to figure out how to survive doing our art. So let's help each other out. And so that competitive sense, for me, I don't know. Like, I love bands like Clutch.
Yep.
I love it that they play. They're not playing huge venues. They're playing, 2,000 or 3,000 person cap, sometimes smaller than that. I would love to be a supporting act for a band like Clutch. Gosh, I don't really know a lot of bands. That's the thing. Music is it's so saturated. Hank Williams III is probably one of my favorites that I've been listening to over the last however many years. And, man, I feel like something like that would be super weird to be a part of.
Yeah.
But we've done it our way for so long, where we've been like, man, let's tour with some bands. I think it'd be sweet to put together a curtain call tour.
Yeah.
Like
absolutely.
Some of these bands that you're playing, Jay-Z, that we could throw together a 4 or 5, band bill.
Absolutely.
And do a run. So, I feel like that would be a good family kind of thing.
One other thing too, and it just, because sometimes I forget. I'm getting really old. I'm getting closer to that mid stage life thing. So I forget questions that I want to ask you. But
hey, I'm catching up with you, bro.
Well, yeah, we're getting there. The husband wife thing. It seems like I've noticed a lot more of that in the rock industry here in the last 5 to 10 years. Including just a couple, another label mate of yours, that in Modern Mimes. So, from Kurt, yep, they were just here in studio
Great band.
Yeah, they were here in studio about a month ago. But I'm noticing more of the husband-wife thing. Give us the dynamic, I guess, of that, and why do you feel like we're seeing a little bit more of that than maybe we used to in the past?
Ooh, that's a great question. Our dynamic works really, really well. My wife, I pretty much do all of the creative.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously you're bringing in outside help, like with Chris Baseford and Travis Joyner, our producer and our film guy. But I pretty much do all of the creative side, and she does all of the business, the marketing, the managing. So our yin yang, I guess you could say, is works really well. Plus, we're on the road together. I'm the driver. She's the navigator.
Uh-oh.
So
how does that work, by the way?
It works great because I'm not a great passenger.
Okay.
But at the same time, we're in the front seat hours at a time talking over, well, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? So the dynamic for that kind of a business sense works perfectly with us. And then also, we live, we don't have a house.
Right.
We live in a 24-foot U-Haul that we've turned into a micro house.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually live in 7 feet of space.
Mm-hmm.
So like right now, when we're in downtown Nashville, we go out to the RV, there's 7 feet of space. She'll be laying in the bed working on her computer working. I'll shut the curtain and then I'm in my room.
She's listening right now, isn't she?
She could be.
See, the next time we talk, I'm going to get her side of everything. So
I think the next time we talk, you should definitely do that. But I feel like that husband and wife, something that I noticed from other bands, and I'm not trying to push that envelope, but we would be on the road and you're playing with other bands, and a singer or whomever part of the band would come up and say, "Man, I'm really struggling with something," and I'm like, "All right, what do you got?" He's like, "Dude, I'm on the road 9 months out of the year. My wife, my kids, everybody's back home, and I can't seem to have my focus. I can't seem to have my clarity." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, And the thing is, you're praying for those guys because everything they want to be doing is their art, their love, what they're passionate about. But the battle is, I've almost got 2 lives, and I can't imagine me being on the road for 9 months out of the year while my wife is still at a house somewhere. That's not a relationship.
Right.
That'd be tough. And again, I never knew this was going to become our life. I never knew that my wife and I would be playing music together. That wasn't something that was planned. It's something that just happened. And I think that dynamic for us is a perfect storm, so to say.
Awesome. I love it. Hey, TD, if people want more information about White Collar Sideshow, get a hold of you, let us know all those avenues they can do so.
For sure. If you go to whitecollarsideshow.com, could pretty much take you anywhere. We're on Spotify, we're on Pandora, we're on all of those social media outlets. We're on the Dark.
Yes, you are. Absolutely. You've been on there since at least January.
Man. And also, if you just Google the name White Collar Sideshow, you could pretty much find out anything about what we're about, who we are, and become a stalker if you'd want to.
Nice. Hey, thanks so much for joining me, by the way, and I'm looking forward to you guys coming up here sometime in the near future and even putting on a show. It'd be great to hear for our listeners.
Jay-Z, I would be honored to do something like that, and I'd love to be able to get into your studio as well and just hang and give you a big fist bump.
Sounds great. We'll have to do the Phantom one, though, right? Because you can't touch anybody anymore, right?
That's right. We'd have to throw an elbow pretty far.
Fake the elbow throw in that. Hey, so say hi to your wife. And once again, thanks so much for joining me, TD. We're looking forward to seeing you guys here maybe sometime in the near future. And hopefully everything goes well for you as you continue on your journey.
Man, Jay-Z, thank you so much for your support, your encouragement, and playing our stuff. Like, we're super grateful, and we're thankful for you. And cheers to you, man.
Awesome. That is TD from the band. Once again, White Collar Sideshow. Their latest song is called Bring Out Your Dead. You're hearing it right now. It's on The Dark. It's on FM 94.